Welcome back. You're with us here on Editors Roundtable. We've been sort of talking markets and everything else as well. But the earnings season is underway for the first quarter. Remember, after the fourth quarter, we saw lots of downgrades. So let's not take the eye off earnings, because at the end of the day, prices over any reasonable time period are slaves to earnings. First quarter earnings, right? I mean, we are almost halfway through. So I looked at the NSE 200 group of companies, which pretty much captures, the bulk of the listed universe in terms of market capitalization. Out of 200 companies, 80 companies have reported numbers so far. Actually, but this is as of yesterday, including today, maybe the number will go up a little bit. 42 companies out of this 80 has seen earnings downgrades, and 38 actually have seen EPS upgrades. So even in the first half, and we're almost halfway through, when you would expect that the companies would, the better company earnings would come out in the first half, and the second half would have the big disappointments. It's more downgrades as compared to upgrades. So that's the first thing to note. What I did is I just looked at the biggest change to F524 earnings over the last 1 month. Basically, where earnings were before this earnings season started and where earnings are on Bloomberg consensus estimates. Again, this is the NSE 200 group. This will have companies both which have reported numbers and which are yet to report numbers. So, I mean, the upgrades first, the top 10 upgrades first. Zomato is at number 1, 30% upgrades to F524 estimates. We will get numbers, I guess, next week. BPCL, 25% upgrade to earnings. Tata Motors has seen a big one, 23% as well. Paytm, 17%. Poonawalla FinCorp reported numbers just early this week, 16% upgrade there. Polycab, I mean, the stock went berserk after the earnings, and that's seen a 9% consensus upgrade. United Spirits was another one. I was surprised. I mean, actually, there was a bit of a flip-flop. Immediately after the earnings, there was a big up move, and then there was a down move after the con call. DRL and Cipla both have seen about 6% upgrades, and Hero MotoCorp is the other one, which has seen about a 5% upgrade to its estimates on a F524 basis. Top downgrades, Vedanta is the pole position, 18% downgrade to earnings. Dalmia Bharat was a disappointment. Earnings brought lower by 17%. Tech Mahindra, I mean, absolute washout, 15% downgrade. SRF, Tube Investments, HDFC Bank, there's Grasim, Hindustan Zinc, United Breweries and Bandhan Bank, all in the between 6 to 10% kind of a range. The graphics are on your screen in terms of what we've seen. So the top upgrades and top downgrades so far, almost halfway through into this earnings season. Out of this list, where is the delta in terms of stock price relative to how earnings have moved? Which of these names?
Well, I think from the list that you read out, I think, at least to my mind, the biggest earnings upgrade at our coverage universe came out in Polycab. I think we've upgraded our EBITDA and PAT numbers, if I'm not mistaken, by somewhere between 20-25% on an aggregate. It's a remarkable company. I think they're going to do their operating profit and PAT between reported 23 and estimated 25 will grow by 50%. It's almost a 50% return on invested capital company. I'm trying to dig deep into my mind to come out with the numbers, but I think this is a company that is generating about 1,400 crores of annual free cash flow. And you're getting it at about 34, 35 times. It remains one of the highest conviction upgrades of the season for sure.
Once in a generation company, and I tell you what, this also got me the highest views on my reels. Polycab. It's just phenomenal,
It's just one thing. It is a commodity company at the end of the day, right? What happens if copper prices, for example, go berserk? I mean, suddenly, immediately, it looks very different, isn't it?
No, fair enough. Also, the question, Prashant, is how well do you hedge yourself against it? And I think when you're an industry leader, you'll probably have some amount of pass-through and cost-plus. So obviously, these are cycles. You can go back in time and look at how HEG and Graphite did once upon a time and what happened post that. But I don't think it's that commoditized now as it used to be, as you've seen in the case of Havells also, right?
They have an FMEG component as well, but that is very small.
Absolutely.
I mean,
but I think what they're doing, Prashant, net of everything, is that they've managed to keep this return on invested capital north of 40%, which is remarkable in this business. Let me go back to Dixon. Sorry.
Do you extend it to the entire home improvement space, like the Kajaria ceramics of the world? Because this entire theme is coming back in a big way, right? Prompt and consumer.
There is a slightly more macro way of looking at it. And Keki Mistry has this beautiful line where he says, almost 65-70% of India's population under the age of 35 hasn't even bought their first home. So that's the kind of latent demand that's going to come into the system. And obviously, if that happens, now the one thing that we saw is if you have propensity to consume, you're going to go out there and buy your houses, and that's why during COVID and even now, numbers are going ballistic. You're seeing it in Lodha, you're seeing it in Oberoi, you're seeing it in Godrej. Can Kajaria become the next Kajaria? Greenply become the next Greenply? Very possible. I think this is a structural theme, and as long as people are going to make houses, you also have to determine, Sonia, whether these are push or pull products. A lot of these are, you hire an interior designer or somebody to do your work, and they have their relationships. It's not like you are going out on the street and buying Kajaria or Greenply. So a lot of these is how you deal with your dealer distributor network, and I think a lot of these are set, so to speak. So. And they're not too competitive, right? I mean, let's take a look at electricals. What do you have? Havells, Bajaj, V-Guard, Orient, give or take. When you look at durables or electricals, right? If you look at washing machines or refs, there are LG, Samsung, Whirlpool, maybe 3-4 guys who are getting 75-80%. Air conditioners is where it's different because you have about 40 or 50 players. And that's why your margins are lower because the competitive intensity is that much higher. But I think at an aggregate level, definitely. And as a second order, why not take a call on home loans?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're talking about home improvement, you're going to have to take that loan as well.
In order to improve.
And I think most banks. Sorry. No, I think most banks are now retailizing. Even corporate, who were earlier seen as corporate banks, right? Yes Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, they're now retailizing, and a large part of this retail is going into auto and homes. So it's not just home improvement; you can extend it to home loans as well.
Okay, guys, we've run out of time. Obviously, not out of questions, and you are not run out of words as always. But thanks a lot for joining us.
Pleasure.
And quickly, any weekend plans?
Ashes, that's it, I guess.
Oh, the Ashes, okay.
Yeah.
Nimesh never has any weekend plans.
I just try to chill out.
He, by the way, it turns out to do the most during a weekend. I mean, ask him on Monday.
And Prashant, I heard you're going for Oppenheimer the second time?
I have to take my daughter, so I don't know. I mean, let's see.
All the
I'm
best.
trying to avoid it. It's
All
3
the best.
hours, so 6 hours of Oppenheimer, then I would have watched it. So.
Rahul, what are you doing over
No,
there?
I'm definitely going to try and watch Oppenheimer, but I really am in the mood for something very basic. So don't be surprised if you bump into me at Rocky or Rani Ki Prince Rani. Just to go out there and just watch. Sorry, I hope so. Again, let's go back to where we started the show.
PVR.
Maybe not.
Some hardcore entertainment, right?
Yeah,
All
at
right.
the stock of PVR.
Okay, well, with that, it's a wrap. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great weekend.